Hi there, I'm Amy, or AWayfaringFrog, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I've got another Sims 4 speed build for you, and it's going to be part of that career-inspired homes series that I started fairly recently. And this one is going to be for a tarot card reader. So if you haven't seen my previous video in this series, I built a container home for a fabricator, and so the whole theme around that build was for the fabricator. Whereas this one's going to be for the tarot card item that comes in the Life and Death expansion pack. And there are actually two tarot card decks in the game. There's one which is in the normal build buy menu, and that's just kind of the basic tarot card deck that your Sims can access and use. Whereas there's a more improved version which you can get through gameplay just by going around and collecting all of the tarot cards, which is one of the big features from that pack. Alternatively, you can just grab it from debug, so I did add those in as well throughout the build. I also went ahead and built this in Windenburg on the island area. It's just on the mid-nowhere lot. I thought it was kind of nice to have this in the middle of nowhere, and the name of the slot really helped with that idea. And the shape of it is a bit quirky. I saw something on Pinterest which I really wanted to try and recreate, so I did my best with that here, and I think it came out quite well. The only thing is the round rooms are a little odd looking. I just feel like it would be so much better if we had more windows that actually wrapped around the curved sections of walls. But sadly, the only windows that do kind of snap to the curve are the Art Deco ones from the High School Years pack, which is the expansion where that update came from to begin with. And it just wasn't really the right decor style at all, so I didn't want to include those ones. So it's kind of unfortunate that they just don't quite look right on the rounded section, but I tried my best. I ended up using the ones from the Garden Haven kit, is it called? Or the Gardener's Haven kit? I've forgotten the name of it now, but it's the one that's got the floor to ceiling windows, and then there's a door as well. I do add a door into the back garden. I sort of cover it up as well with a curtain, which you'll see when I get around to decorating that room, but it is still functional. Your Sims will just walk right through the curtain, and that ended up being sort of one of the tarot card reading rooms, so I did want to try and make it kind of dark and moody, so I went ahead and put the netted curtains throughout to help give that vibe. I also changed my mind on a few things while doing this build, so I'm currently using the Horse Ranch fence pieces, but I do end up changing that to the ones from the Magic Realm game pack, just because I thought having the accents of the white and black in one of the swatches from that one worked really nicely. And also there's just a much more intricate design on those pieces, and I really like the spandrels for that, so I do switch it out quite a bit later on. The build is also a bit of a funny shape because the front door is actually going to be up those stairs on the right hand side of the building, and so you enter through the middle floor, and then the top floor becomes quite an open style an open style bedroom. So there is only one bedroom in this house. You could have two. One of the rooms I end up making an office. It would be very small for a bedroom, but a single bed would fit quite well in there. And also in terms of decorating this was all part of when I was moving house. So I was trying to pre-record quite a while ago. I am now fully moved in and fully settled. So this is my first voiceover in the new house, which is kind of exciting. And I finished editing this video while I was at the new house too. But due to that, I actually filmed this quite a long time ago, so there have been a few kit releases and a few news updates ever since that, and then there was that big base game update where we got a whole new kitchen set. I'm really excited to try that out. So there's going to be a few videos which are a little bit dated as a result because they don't include some of the new packs. This one does have a few of the newer kits in. It's about halfway through the build. I end up going back and editing just like a few small items using the Bella Goth kit. I've forgotten what it's called now, but there's some cool items in that, including a bookcase door, and I thought that would be a really fun item to have for a tarot card reader just because it feels quite like a mystical sort of career to have, so I wanted to give them a super secret space. So I end up using that as the entryway into their office, which is that room I mentioned could potentially become a second bedroom if need be. I'm really not sure how I feel about those kits because there was also the one for Don Lothario which came out at the same time, and It just feels really weird that they had CAS items as well as build by stuff. I've tried building a bachelor pad since since both of them came out, but predominantly using the Don Lothario themed one. I think it's called the Casanova Cave kit or something like that. That is also a work in progress build because I started that at the old house and didn't manage to finish it, so that will be one of my next videos, so spoiler alert, that is something I am working on. But it just felt like the build stuff was lacking a little bit. I sort of wish there were a few more pieces that you could use to help decorate a house, because it just doesn't feel fully furnished enough, and because some of the items are fairly stylized, I just felt like it was lacking a bit in places. Luckily though, while I was decorating that, and I will be sure to include this when I finish the build before I begin editing it, there was actually another custom creator kit which came out. I've completely forgotten the name of it, but it might be like a refined living room or something, and that seemed to pair really well with the Casanova Cave kit. So that did help bulk out a lot of the rooms because there is just so much good furniture in that kit, which combined really well. And I think that's just going to show how good CC creators are. There's another one as well which has a full sofa range, so there's the armchair and then the 3-wide and a 2-wide sofa to match, and it just makes me so happy when we have that versatility in kits and just packs in general, because there's so many nice sofas in the game which I just struggle to use because I can't find, say, the right accent chair, or I just need to have more seating space, but I don't want to have to use the same sofa repeatedly. So it is really good when we get those items in the game. I think they're such useful basic things that would be great to have more often, but sadly it doesn't seem to happen a lot until the CC creators start taking hold of things. But now, as you can see, the exterior of the build is coming along quite nicely. I've just been adding a few vines here and there, and I tried to bring quite a lot of colour using the plant pots or the planter boxes on the windows, just due to the fact that I really wanted this to be quite a wooden build with lots of dark grey and black accents throughout. You can also probably see what I mean using these greenhouse haven windows around the curved wall sections of the house. There's just something a little bit off about them, and I had to custom alt place so many of them just to get them to look correct and not have big gaps in random places. So I fiddled around with that a lot. I did cut a lot of me doing that out. I just mostly kept in the footage of me placing them down to begin with, because I went back occasionally and would amend a few things here and there. And the same happened with the curtains as well, so they were a bit of a nightmare. Not my favourite thing to do, but that's one of the reasons I don't generally build with curved rooms. I just really liked how this house looked on Pinterest when I saw it, so I thought it was fun and quirky, and I just wanted to try and replicate that a little bit here. We are now landscaping though, and I've started to create a bit of a back garden space, and I just put in the little tent from Life and Death, which is themed for a tarot card reader. I think it appears in one of the various events or the festivals that you can go to in the Ravenwood world that comes with Life and Death. So of course I had to include it because it was just way too perfect to not. And I ended up getting the little tarot card reader shrine that comes in Debug from Life and Death as well. It just felt really fitting. I don't know if your Sims can interact with it in the same way that they can with the ones within Ravenwood. So you should be able to click on it and view who the active Order of Lenore members are, but I'm not certain if it works on this version here. I assume it would, but I'm not certain. I didn't actually playtest that, to be honest. But it just looked like a fun decoration piece, so even if it's not functional, I think it looks really cool. And it's mostly just for information for your Sims more than anything, so in terms of the function it would offer, it's fairly minimal, so I don't think it's a concern if it doesn't actually function. The landscaping that I ended up using was just the usual, put down these nice pale yellow lying flowers and then go around and layer taller plants throughout. So again, I did cut a bit of this process out because it was quite repetitive, but I wanted to show a little bit of my thought process in that. But now you'll see that the landscaping is looking a lot more lush. I picked a lot of the colours that combined well with those planter boxes, which are from Get Famous. And it's about now as well that I decided the spandrels and the fence pieces from the Magic Realm pack just worked so much better, so I went ahead and replaced all of the Horse Ranch ones with those. I was really hoping to use, there's a really purple fence piece that's from that same pack, but it's a lot taller, and also it doesn't have matching like stair rails, which is such a shame. And because of the fact that it's taller, it doesn't really combine that well with the smaller stair railing that I have used here. So I did just scrap that idea entirely, which is kind of a shame, because I think it would have looked so perfect with the bright purple and cyan colours. But unfortunately, sometimes you just have too many limitations, so it's just easier to go with something that works rather than trying to make something look okay that really doesn't fit quite right together. Speaking of Sims 4 limitations as well, I've been wanting to try and build the house that I moved into on The Sims, partly just as a way to work out where I want to have furniture and things. And I might make a video of it as well, just as a fun little another speed build, I suppose. But the only thing is, it's like the top floor has kind of lofted sections of the ceiling. I think it's quite common, but you can't really achieve that very well in The Sims because your Sims can't walk under like slanted ceilings, and you can't build them very easily either because of the roof pieces and the limitations around that. Hopefully you know what I mean. But yeah, I feel like if I tried to build it fully in The Sims, it's not going to look anything like it. And then there's the whole issue with the fact that you can't build walls on half tiles. So many of the rooms have like little nooks and crannies that would really only be a half tile in The Sims, but we just can't do that, which is such a shame. So I'm not sure how it's going to end up looking if and when I get round to it. But let me know if you would be interested in seeing that in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and anything else that you'd like to see on the channel. If you've got any particular suggestions or ideas, just let me know. I do still have a list of the few things that I have been requested for. I keep thinking about renovating Vlad's mansion. That's always on my mind, but at the moment, while I'm getting back into recording from such a big move, I'm going to put that off a little bit longer, I'm afraid, just because that feels like such a project and I'm still not sure how I'm going to achieve that one. I did have a play around quite a while ago now. It was probably around Christmas, if not before. And yeah, I was just really struggling to renovate versus just fully bulldozing and starting over. It's such a weirdly shaped house. So it is still on my list, I promise. I'm just getting there very slowly. And I do have a few other ideas myself which I wanted to get out, such as doing a base game build now that we have a really nice kitchen set in the base game and a few other items which I think would look so much better. The only thing is, where are the new beds? Thank you so much, Sims team, for adding so much more content, but please can we have more beds or just new bed swatches? I really hate the base game beds. I think they're so boring. It just doesn't really feel like there's much you can do with that. But anyway, we are now decorating the bedroom, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the top floor of this house. And I used the bed from Magic Realm and combined in quite a few pieces from a lot of other packs. This is not a limited pack build. And that kind of dictated the colour scheme throughout the rest of the house. It ends up being very kind of teal, deep green, with a bit of purple mixed here and there, and I thought that was quite a nice colour scheme. A lot of the Crystal Creation stuff worked really well for the purple in that sense as well, since unfortunately The Sims 4 seems to be lacking still in good purple swatches. It's getting there, it's definitely improving, but there's still quite a long way to go, I think. And the living room, which we're currently decorating now as well, it's a bit of a funny shape. It ends up being in this jutting out circular area, which was one of the main inspirations behind this style of build that I was trying to go for. And it's just a little bit tight, but I think it ended up working. I did put a few nice pieces of clutter in here and there. I also included this little gramophone on the item from the kit that comes, oh sorry, the stuff pack that comes with the butler. I forgot what it's called now. The only thing is, this is still currently before that update came, or rather the new packs came out from a while ago. So that Bella Goth kit, when I finally get that and I come back to this build a bit later on, that's when I ended up switching out the little gramophone for the record player that comes from that kit. Same for the tea tray actually, because I added the one from Wedding Stories initially, but then with that kit, I just really wanted to use the new one, and I felt like the aesthetics of it fit a lot better as well. At the moment, the tea set in the living room looks a little bit granny-esque, where I was going more tarot card reader, which could be a granny. I'm not saying it can't, but it just feels like it needed to be a little bit more fancy, a little bit more eccentric. So I did go ahead and swap that out. I also cut the footage of the small half bath next to the living room area, and as you can see, I dropped a few of the items from that in order to make the only big bathroom. It does mean that there isn't a shower in this build, but I wasn't too worried about that. I figured there'd only be one sim living here anyway. That's part of what I envisioned with this series, so that's another reason why there is only one bedroom. So hopefully that's not an issue if you did want to play in this build at all. And if you did want to download it, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery just under my EA ID, AWayfaringFrog. It's also under the hashtag AWayfaringFrog, and all of the information for that and the build itself are in the description down below. And if you are still watching the speed build and are enjoying it, be sure to give the video a like. It would really help the channel, and subscribe if you haven't already, and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a build. I'm also planning to put up a little poll at some stage, as I've got a few ideas already from yourselves over what sort of career to look at next. So once I get round to it, because I've still got a few other videos that I need to edit and voice over, and then some other small things to record as well, such as a base game build. Yeah, I will collate those and then pop a little poll on YouTube, so be sure to watch out for that, so that you can get your votes in for what the next kind of career-inspired build will be. Now, just working in the kitchen though, I combined quite a few different items here. So I've got the country kitchen upper cabinets, as well as, nope, not as well as, I think the stove and fridge are actually from Cottage Living. And I used this really nice deep kind of teal colour. I thought that combined really well. And then the countertops are from the Magic Realm pack again. They just had that really eccentric, kind of unusual looking tile, which I thought worked really well. And as much as I love the country kitchen kit work surfaces as well, the wood colour on them is way too pale. It's like a really soft pine. And I was going for quite stark contrasting or bold colours in this build, so I just wasn't really feeling that particular kind of worktop, which is so unfortunate because I feel as if I very rarely use those counters, and I love that kit. So maybe I'll try and do like a really heavily cottagey styled build at some point, but more pastel rather than like bold or dark colours, and that will probably help solve my problem. So yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing something like that at some stage too. At the dining room then is just a little small one that ended up going in one of these nooks, and that is where that door is. It's covered by a curtain so you can't see it, but you can walk out onto that little stairway that leads into the back garden from there. So it is functional, it's just that thanks to the Greenhouse Haven kit having such a great combination of windows and doors, it looks very invisible and not really like a door. But now I think it's about this point where I've come back to the game like a few days later, and now have the new kits, or they're not new anymore as of doing this voiceover, but they're still fairly new. And I wasn't sure what to do with this little extra room for a while. I was thinking, I guess it's gonna have to be like a guest room, even though I didn't want to have to include another bedroom in the house. But then this bookcase door just kind of cemented the idea, and I thought, okay, this is where they go and work on I don't really know what tarot card readers might need to do on a day-to-day basis that aren't just doing readings for people. So I figured that this would be their main office. So this isn't where they host clients and take readings from people. This is just the tarot card reader's office. So any research I suppose they need to do for their career can be done on the computer. If they wanted to do some writing, that can all be done here. Or you can do the aspiration to be able to write horror stories through the Life and Death expansion pack, so maybe that could tie in as well. But again, this house is primarily for a tarot card reader, so this office can be whatever you need it to be. But I thought it was a lot of fun being able to use all of these interesting items, just like the bookshelf door is fun. I don't see myself using it very often, unfortunately, but it is cool to be able to use it in spaces like this. And then The colours of it combine again really well with Crystal Creations and Life and Death. This nice deep green colour matches perfectly with the same deep greens from those packs, so I was really happy to be able to incorporate that here. I also did want to include a little crow because it felt like a nice addition for our tarot card reader to have a little pet there. I also didn't make this house a pet-friendly house, unfortunately. There is a bathtub if you have a dog, but otherwise you'd need to add food bowls and things if you wanted to have pets. But we have now just about finished with the office. I think it's around now that I'll end up picking the wallpaper. I wasn't sure what wallpaper to use for a while. You'll perhaps have noticed that I used the Decor to the Max kit upstairs in a few sections, but I do end up changing that to the one from Crystal Creations. It just made so much more sense. I think it took me a while to remember that it was there, which is incredible because it is one of my favorites. Although also at the time of building this, I think I'd used that wallpaper in quite a few builds, so I was maybe thinking, let's try and use something else. So that was originally the aim, but anyway, I came straight back to the Crystal Creations one. I didn't use it in the purple swatch though, and that is my most used wallpaper colour out of most of them, I think. So at least there's that. It is a little bit different. But it is around now that we should be heading upstairs again, and so I just switched out that tea tray as well. And we're in kind of the entry area because this is where the front door is. And because this is meant to be a place of work for the sim, I made this like a little bit of a waiting room or like a check-in desk is what I was going for here. So it's a little bit odd to be in a residential house, but it felt suitable for this particular career idea that I had. So I used the new sofa as well, which is from that Bella Goth kit, as well as the little desk chair is from there, so it matches quite nicely. And I think even though the wallpaper is more of a green tone, I feel like the blue just adds a little bit of extra colour in there and still combines really nicely, so hopefully you agree. I just added a few little knickknacks here and there, as well as a little table next to the door for your sim to just dump their keys and things. I'm not sure how safe that is when they're going to be anticipating having people over quite regularly, but it seemed like a useful thing to have. I feel like everyone needs that kind of a shelf right by their front door. In my old house, the dining table was actually the first surface that you came to when you walked into the door, so that became the chuck your rubbish from the day, like keys or your wallet and stuff like that. It all just got piled up on there, including loads of letters. So that was always a bit of a mess, but now I actually have a proper entryway and a proper place to put my rubbish. But we have just about finished this room. I do then move into that final little curved section, which is a bit of a weird room. I just end up putting a few poofs there, as well as a little bench. I think I used the one from Lovestruck. The idea was this is where your sim would do their tarot readings inside. Obviously there is the tent outside, but your sims can't actually use it. So I wanted to create a little sit-down space indoors for them to do any readings that they needed to. I'm not actually sure how your sims give tarot card readings. I haven't played that much with giving the readings since Life and Death came out. I've mostly just been collecting the cards myself. So I assume they don't sit down when they do it, but I'm not actually sure. So this room is potentially incredibly obsolete, but from a storytelling perspective, I thought it was quite fun to just have this nice mood-lit area with lots of candles and loads of comfy rugs and little places to sit and perch while you're getting your reading. So hopefully you think it's a little bit of fun too. I'm not so sure about this in real life though, with all of the candles so close to the ground in a very wooden house with rugs. Your sims could knock them over, but luckily it is The Sims 4, so they won't knock them over, so it's perfectly safe. They'll only set fire to the stove probably, so you should be fine until they start cooking. But at this point we have come to the end of the speed build portion of the video, so if you have enjoyed it, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all bearing with me while I've been going through this move, and hopefully I'll stop with all of the outdated videos soon. But for now, I really hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye for now.